In the season finale, the group comes on the other side of the portal and they see just what a weird room they're in, that everything's backwards. But then they quickly realize that Klaus isn't with them. Reginald closes the door and says, "I'm sorry, I did everything I could, but he got sucked into the black hole." And that is extremely fishy to everybody because he was right behind 5. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. But unfortunately, it's too late. There's nothing to go back to. They're stuck in the Hotel Oblivion. And Klaus has joined Luther on the other side. They're just kind of chilling. And while Klaus is used to it, Luther does not take it well because he just found the love of his life and now he's dead. It then hits Luther that it was Reginald who killed him, which Klaus can relate to. Luther starts screaming at Klaus, "You gotta go back, you gotta warn the others." But Klaus is done. He's realized that he just belongs in that afterlife. He also figures that everybody's just gonna join them soon enough. There's no guarantees that they outran the Kugelblitz. But Luther isn't willing to accept that, and he takes his wrath out on dead Klaus. Anger turns to pleading, and Luther says, "If you don't want to help out the family, fine, but do it for me because the love of my life is in danger." And Klaus tells him, "I don't even know if I can. I mean, who knows where they even went?" But Luther, wanting him to at least try, boosts his ego up and says, "You can do anything, man." But it does work. Klaus agrees to at least try it out. But the group they're looking for is currently in the lobby of the Hotel Oblivion. And Reginald is really taking it all in because he's never seen the other side. Diego warns everybody, do not ring that bell. To take out this thing, we need to be in the right state of mind. Reginald tells the group that this hotel is a test and a trap and a means of salvation all at once. But the thing is, Reginald doesn't really know what to do. And as he's trying to figure it out, there's a little bit of infighting. Lila is certainly not happy with Diego after Diego said, "Well, I'm not going." She also kind of picks a fight with Ben. And then there's 5, who definitely thinks there's something else going on. He doesn't think it's a coincidence that Luther died and then suddenly Klaus couldn't make it on the other side. He feels like it is absolutely the doing of Reginald Hargraves. Victor isn't so sure that he'd even be capable of that, but 5 reminds him, "Do you remember how we came back together in the first place? It was Dad's funeral. He pulled the strings before, he's just doing it again." I mean, think about it. He lost the vote to come through the tunnel, yet here we are anyway? I think he could kill Luther, Klaus, and the rest of us without breaking a moral sweat. And what's worse is I think Allison's involved. And while Victor has trouble believing the Reginald part, he absolutely does not believe that Allison could be capable of anything like that. 5, though, points out that Allison's been unraveling since they arrived in the timeline. Sadly, it's just not something that they can rule out. But unbeknownst to both 5 and Victor, Allison didn't have anything to do with it, and she's also suspicious of Reginald. She approaches him and says, "We need to talk. Luther and Klaus, did you kill them?" Reginald brushes it aside, saying, "That's ridiculous. There's a guardian lurking in this hotel. We need to defeat it for this mission to succeed. Why would I kill off 2 members? But Allison points out that's not an answer. Reginald tries to walk off, but Allison stops him and says, "If I find out you're lying to me, the deal that we have is off." He assures her that he will keep his side of the agreement, but he expects her to do the same. Ben walks up, and he caught the tail end of that conversation, and when he asks Reginald, what was that all about, Reginald just tells him it's none of his concern. Ben thinks it is his concern and says, "I made all of this happen," but Reginald laughs that off and says, "No, you didn't. Allison killed Harlan. I united the families. What did you do?" And that is a shot to Ben's ego. Reginald then walks downstairs into the lobby and addresses everybody. He tells them that the legend of the 7 bells is just a metaphor for the sigil, the same thing that is now tattooed on 5's chest. Once they find the sigil, they're one step closer to resetting the universe. But the sigil is hidden somewhere in the hotel. They all need to find it. The problem is, Reginald doesn't know what they do when they find that sigil. His plan only went up to a certain point. Allison ends up agreeing with Reginald and saying, "We need to find the sigil. It's our best chance of getting out of here and resetting the universe." And that's when 5 says, "Man, you really agree with Reginald all of a sudden. Interesting." Reginald brushes that comment aside, and he has the group split up. It's Sparrows on one side, Umbrella Academy members on the other. Although Diego and Lila, they're on their own, because as Reginald puts it, nobody wants to listen to them bicker. So all 3 groups go their separate ways with plans on meeting back in the lobby in 30 minutes. Reginald starts walking towards the elevator with Ben and Sloan, but when they get in, he says, "Oh wait, you know what? I forgot my journal. Just go ahead, I'll meet you on the 5th floor." But he didn't forget his journal. Instead, he goes back and waits for them to all get in position with plans on ringing the bell. And as he's sitting there biding his time, that's when Klaus magically shows up, which takes Reginald completely by surprise. He did not expect it. Klaus starts asking him why he did the things that he did, i.e. kill him, kill Luther. And Reginald tells him it was all necessary, but he also doesn't have time for this crap, so he ends up killing Klaus yet again, knocking him in the head with an object. With that done, he rings the bell, summoning the Guardian. All of the kids are unaware of this. And upstairs in the room with Five, Allison, and Victor, Five confronts Allison about the meeting she had with Reginald. Allison just gaslights him, but Five is steadfast that the two met. They came to an agreement. Five says, your deal is costing people their lives. And Allison asks him, you think I'd make a deal with Dad to kill Luther and Klaus? That's the final straw for Allison. She leaves the room. Victor chases after her. But when Five leaves the room, he somehow transports from the 3rd floor, which is what they were on, to the 5th floor. Although it takes Allison and Victor a little bit of time to notice that he's not behind them. And they're very confused on what happened to their brother because they were too busy fighting. As they continue to look for Five, Victor is just more concerned about making things right with Allison. He asks, how do we go about doing that? But Allison says, I just don't know if we can. But they aren't the only ones who are fighting. On the 6th floor, Diego and Lila, they're fighting about their current relationship. And on the 5th floor, you've got Ben going at it with Sloane. Sloane can't understand why it's so important for Ben to get acceptance from Reginald. As she puts it, he's not even our real dad. And Ben says, it's really easy for you to say. You've got a new family. That's when Five walks up on him. He's got bad news, though. He can't get back to the lobby. Whatever direction he chooses, he just ends up in the same spot. Something's going on with the hotel. They start looking for a way out, and that's when they see the Guardian. But they aren't the only one, because down on the 3rd floor, Allison is the first one to actually be attacked. Victor saves her life. There's more than one of these things. In fact, every group seems to be facing one Guardian. With Allison's arm pretty banged up, after Victor knocks down the Guardian, she runs into the bathroom to try to patch her up. And that's when Allison admits, yeah, you're right, I made a deal with Dad. It had nothing to do with Luther and Klaus. That wasn't me. But I did this deal for all of us. I promise you, if we get through this, everything's going to be okay. But getting through it's going to be an issue, because the Guardian is proving to be really unkillable. And because of that, Diego wants Lila to sit this one out. She's got the baby to think about. But Lila is not about to do that. So Diego takes matters into his own hands, locking Lila up in a closet, guaranteeing her safety. He tells Lila, if I don't make it out, just tell the baby about the man that I was. And then he goes after this Guardian. Lila isn't in there long, though. When Victor walks by, she's able to harness Victor's powers and busts out. But they've got yet another Guardian to deal with. I mean, these things are just coming at him in waves. But with both Victor and Lila harnessing Victor's powers, they're able to get rid of it pretty quickly. In the 5th floor, though, the Guardian that Ben, Five, and Sloane are facing is having a field day with him. He's injured Sloane, he's knocked down Five, and Ben does his best, releasing his tentacles and wrapping him up. But the Guardian just busts out, injuring Ben. There is a soft spot, though. Right on the Guardian's back is a design for the sigil, and when Five takes an axe to it, it ends up killing him. One by one, everybody makes their way back into the lobby, and they see Klaus's body. They're very surprised to see it because they were told that he died, but there he is. Probably with a bad headache, but he's alive. He tells the group exactly what Reginald did, including ringing the bell. And Reginald walks up and says, I had no choice. You refused to come together as a team. But he also says, what I told you is true. Somewhere in this hotel, there's the sigil that will reset the universe. As they're all yelling at Reginald and Reginald is trying to get them to pay attention, Five realizes that the sigil is on the floor. But there is one issue. There's one Guardian left. And that Guardian busts through the ceiling, throws what looks like a sickle. I'm sure people in the comments section will correct me on that. But it chops off Five's arm. So that's why older Five didn't have an arm. This Guardian appears to be the toughest one to face because all of the kids are going at it, but they're all being beat up pretty good. Sloane tries to control him as best she can, but she's slowly losing her power, and then she's saved by Luther, who, thanks to Klaus, is back, grabs the Guardian and throws it backwards, knocking him out. He gives Sloane a giant hug, but then he sees Reginald. He yells at him for using him, wasting his life on the moon all those years. And Reginald tells him, I left you to guard the most precious thing in the universe. You'll all soon know what that is. And I'll tell you right now, it's Abigail. Her body, which may be dead, may be alive, was hidden on the moon. Luther just looks back at Sloan, happy that he's back, but then he realizes he's not. He's slowly reverting back to a ghost. Klaus is doing his best to keep Luther in the present, but he's so banged up that he's having trouble. So Luther tells Sloan, I will love you forever, and then he disappears. The kids then realize that they need to get on the stars on the floor, which will represent the 7 bells, but they need to do it fast, because that guardian that was thrown back, he didn't die. He gets up, ready to attack the kids, but they're able to get on the stars just in the nick of time to destroy him for good. All of the kids then seem to be locked in place, everybody except Allison. She was the only one that wasn't standing on a star. The hotel starts transforming, and the desk becomes a control panel. Reginald starts going to work, but Allison's more concerned with her brothers and sisters because they're clearly in pain. Allison begs him to stop, but he says, no, I can't. It stopped the machine. We're stuck in a machine in another dimension. The hotel was just a facade. Whoever created the universe built this place, and the particles inside their bodies are the only things that fuel the machine. 5 is really straining, but he tells Allison he killed Luther, he killed Klaus. He's not going to stop until we're all dead. Allison once again turns to Reginald and says, you need to stop. You're killing them. But Reginald says, no, I'm almost done, and once we're done, we'll get what we came for. Allison's not about to let her brothers and sisters die, so she grabs one of the Guardian's weapons and chops off half of Reginald's head. It frees the umbrella and the sparrows, and it reveals that Reginald was just an alien the entire time. But there's a giant red button that Reginald had created that's flashing. 5 starts screaming at Allison, don't touch the button. We don't know what it does. But I don't care how old you are. When there's a giant red button and people are telling you not to touch it, it makes you want to touch it more. Allison ends up touching it. And then all of a sudden, she's back at her California home where she rushes upstairs to see that the universe was reset. Claire is back. But the biggest surprise of all is that Ray is also there. Back over with the other kids at the Hotel Obsidian, it's not really a hotel anymore. It's a memorial park with a statue of Reginald Hargraves at the center of it. He graciously donated it the first day of October 1989. And their big surprise is Luther is back. But Luther is also back to being a regular person. He's no longer half man, half ape. But when he starts asking for Sloan, she's nowhere to be found. Because the only people at the memorial are the Umbrella Academy members and Lila. They then realize that they reset the universe. Right down to Diego's fingers. They're back. While everybody's kind of excited about this, Luther is not. He walks up to 5 demanding to know where Sloan is, and 5 has no idea, but Luther isn't taking no for an answer. 5 tries to use his powers to get away from Luther, and that's when he realizes he doesn't have them. In fact, none of the kids have their powers. Ben starts freaking out, asking, how do I get these back? But Luther just leaves saying, I gotta go find my wife. That's the only thing he can think about. Klaus chases after him, Ben leaves, and one by one, they kind of just go their separate ways. But when they reset the universe, they also brought Reginald back. And he is standing at the penthouse of a giant building with a massive H and E on the outside of it, and he is not alone, because there's Abigail, very much alive. There is an end credit scene. It's Ben, who seems to be sitting on the same train that his mother gave birth to all those years before, but he's just reading a book and he smiles. And that is the end of Umbrella Academy Season 3. Thank you so much for getting this part of the recap. I really appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. I do have a Patreon. The link is in the bio. Go support. Hit that. You'll get stuff. But be nice in the comments section. Pass this along to everybody. I got merch. Go buy a shirt. All right, I'm done begging for money. Have a good one.